Hey everyone, this is William from the Headphone Experience, and tonight this is the Hifiman shootout. This is a three-way comparison between the new Hifiman Sundara and the older Hifiman HE-560 and the even older HE-500. I own two of these, the HE-500 and the 560, and the Sundaras are on loan to me, and while I had all three together at one time, I wanted to do a three-way comparison. So what I've done is I've come up with 21 categories that I'm going to judge these headphones on and compare each of them to each other in the different categories and award them points. First place in a category will earn 3 points, second place will earn 2 points, and third place will earn 1 point. Then at the end we'll total them all up and see where we're at. First, I wanted to start out and show you that the HE-500s that I've had for about 6 years now, they are modified. They do have a grill modification, and the cloth on the inside has also been removed from the ear pad. No cloth on the outside. What this has done is given them a more open sound and a larger soundstage and a little bit brighter, more, I would say, sparkly treble up in the maybe 10,000 hertz range. The 560s that I've had for about a year also have the same grill modification, but the cloth is still on the inside. I didn't want to, they don't have magnets on the inside of the diaphragm, so I wanted to keep them better protected. Both of these I do keep in dust-proof boxes because the 550s especially, or no, I'm sorry, the 500s especially have no protection at all from dust. The Sundaras are 100% stock and original. Like I said, these are on loan to me, so I don't take apart or mess with headphones that don't belong to me. I'm going to do the comparison with these headphones in the modified state that they are because I've been listening to them for a long time in that way, and I just, that's what I'm used to, and I don't want to put them back, so I will just base them on the way they sound now. The modification on the 500s made a pretty significant difference. Changing the grills on the 560s made the same difference but in a smaller amount. They already had a larger soundstage than the 500s. Did improve it a little bit, make them sound a little more open, but it wasn't as significant as the change that the modification made on the 500s. So anyway, let's get to the 21 categories and see where we're at. The first category is weight. And according to Hifiman, the Sundara is within 3 grams of the 560 in weight. But according to my kitchen scale, I'm coming up with 342 grams without the cable for the 560 and 382 grams for the Sundara. They felt pretty close to the same weight to me, but according to the scale, the Sundara is 40 grams heavier than the HE-560. The 500 is significantly heavier at 540 grams, almost 200 grams heavier than the HE-560. So this is going to be a win and 3 points for the HE-560, and last place is going to go to the 500 that is significantly heavier. Category 2, build quality. The 500s that I've had for 6 years, they've held up well, and I can't really complain. I mean, I would say the build quality was decent, but it's just not perfect. The 560s, which I've had for about a year, I think the build quality is a little more precise, a little better. And I think Hifiman continues to improve with the Sundara, very good build quality. Everything is very clean, everything fits well, very impressed. So we're going to give that one to the Sundara. Looks, I like the way the Sundara looks. It's a completely new style, new woven wire mesh grill and aluminum ear cups. The 560 is basically a plastic ear cup with a wood veneer on it, and the 560 was a I guess it's steel. It's probably why they're so heavy, but it's sort of a semi-gloss, I guess you would call it like a gunmetal gray. And to tell you the truth, I really like the way these look the best. I think I'm going to give these first place in this category. I'm going to go with Sundara's a second, and then the 560s, I'm just not crazy about the plastic ear cups, and the wood veneer, even though I believe it is real wood, just doesn't do a lot for me. Next category would be the headband. Obviously, the headband has changed over the years. The 560 and the Sundara have similar headbands, but the biggest difference, well, there's two differences. The 560, the head strap moves with the sliders, and they have swivels. I know there has been some problems in the past with the yokes made of plastic breaking, especially on 400Is. According to Hifiman, they did get a batch of bad yokes and they did their best to replace them. I've had these for a year, used them hundreds of times. I haven't had any problems with them. My yokes have held up and I haven't had any problems with breakage. The new Sundaras, they do not swivel. They're still comfortable, but I think I'm going to give the headband win to the 560s and give second place to the Sundara, and the older style of headband on the 500, although it does swivel, everything's just kind of stiff, and I'm going to give that third place in this category. Category number 5 is ear pads. The 500 came, well, it came with two different ear pads. These are the, I don't know what these are, sort of a felt material. They're not bad, they're comfortable, but it was a big improvement on the 500. It has or 560, it has a tapered ear pad, and I guess it's a fake leather, but it has sort of a felt material on the inside. The ear pads on the Sundara are very similar to the 560. They're tapered the same way, but they have sort of a, I guess it feels like sort of a spandex material on the inside, as opposed to the felt on the 560. So anyway, the ear pads, I think I like the ear pads the best on the 560. They're slightly thicker than on the Sundara, and I think the felt is a little bit more comfortable. So I'm going to give the win to the 560 on the ear pads and second place to the Sundara. Comfort-wise, the weight obviously has a lot to do with it, and so that kind of eliminates the HE-500. Although personally the weight doesn't bother me, I heard a lot of complaints about the weight on these, and they do affect the comfort. They do get uncomfortable after a little while. The Sundaras are very comfortable. I have no problems at all with these. But I think I'm going to give the win in this category to the 560s because of the slightly thicker, slightly softer ear pads, and the swivel on the headband just seems to make them a little bit more comfortable to me. It's a narrow win, but I'm going to give it to the 560 over the Sundara. The connectors, the cable connectors. Let's start out with the 500s. I absolutely hate these twist-on connectors. You have to be extremely careful taking them on and off so you don't twist the part mounted to the headphone, because if you do, you could snap the wires off inside. Don't like them, never did. Big improvement on the 560 plugs, 2.5 millimeter plugs, much nicer. An even bigger improvement going to the Sundara. Now they have a 3.5 millimeter plug. This win goes to the Sundara and second place to the HE-560. The cables. On the HE-500, we had this silver cable that is about 10 feet long. It's really longer than it needs to be. And it tangles very easily. It's stiff. Never really liked the cable. I mean, sound-wise, I don't think it really makes a whole lot of difference, but that's another discussion right there. But anyway, not crazy about the cable. It's actually too long, it's too stiff, and tangles easily. The cable on the HE-560, huge improvement. Cloth covered, very nice, easy to manage. About 7 feet long, perfect length, in my opinion, for home use, and a 1/4 inch plug. The cable on the new Sundara is a rubbery material. It has a 1/8 inch plug with a 1/4 inch adapter. It's only about 5 feet long and not crazy about the cable. I would like it a foot or two longer. So I'm going to give the win to the HE-560 in this category and second place to the Sundara. Let's go to sound. I'm going to start with bass extension, which is our 9th category. And on bass extension, I have to give this one to the 560. The other two headphones do well down to about maybe 30-35 hertz, but they kind of roll off after that. The 560 definitely has the best bass extension of the three. The other two, I would give them a tie for second place. When we go to bass impact, this is completely different. Without a doubt, the clear winner of this category of bass impact in the basically the mid bass, starting at about 40 hertz up to maybe 80-100 hertz. The clear winner is the HE-500. They definitely have more bass impact than either of the other two headphones. Second place would be the Sundara, which has slightly more bass impact than the 560. And in my opinion, the 560 lacks a little bit of bass impact and can sound better with about 2 or 3 decibels of bass boost. Going to the mid-range, all three of these have a very balanced and very good mid-range in my opinion. I would say though that the Sundara and the HE-560 are a little bit smoother in the mid-range than the older 500. So I'm going to give this a two-way tie for first place to the Sundara and 560. Going to treble, all three are good, but the Sundara has a little more energy in the mid-treble and a little more detail in the mid-treble. And I really like the way Hifiman did the treble on this headphone. So in the treble category, I'm going to give the Sundara first place, and I'm going to give a two-way tie for second place between the HE-560 and the HE-500. As far as detail, the Sundara and the HE-560 both have more detail than the 500. The 500 isn't lacking detail, but the 560 and the Sundara have excellent detail. I'm going to give a slight advantage to the Sundara over the 560 because the Sundara does have a little bit more detail in the mid-treble. I can hear a bit of a difference in it. Just brings out small details in the mid-treble that the 560 struggles with. So I'm going to give a slight advantage to the Sundara in the detail department because of the slightly better mid-treble detail. Otherwise, both have excellent detail, and the older 500 is just lacking a little bit in detail compared to the two newer headphones. Soundstage. All three headphones, in my opinion, have an excellent soundstage. The 500 was improved by the grill modification. The soundstage did become a lot wider. So based on that, I put it up in pretty much the same category as the 560 and the Sundara. They're about equal in soundstage width and depth. The 560 was slightly improved by the grill modification, but it already had a wide soundstage and didn't really need it. The Sundara, not only is it equal in width and depth in soundstage to the other two, but I think I have to give the Sundara a slight advantage because of a little bit more height to the soundstage. I just notice a few more things that are dropping a little lower and a little higher in the soundstage. So I'm giving first place to the Sundara and a two-way tie between the other two. Imaging. All three headphones, in my opinion, image very well, but in this category, I'm going to give the advantage and first place to the Sundara. The Sundara not only images well, all the instruments are separate and distinct from each other like the other two, but the advantage to the Sundara over the other two headphones is instead of the sound coming from a general area, it comes more from a precise pinpoint area. So I'm going to give the advantage on imaging to the Sundara. The imaging is just spot on. I mean, it's just right. Each instrument is in one little point instead of like a general area. So giving first place in this category to the Sundara. Tone balance. I guess with tone balance, if we use accuracy as our measurement, because of the 560 having the best bass extension of the three, I would say it has probably the best overall tone balance of the three. The Sundara is very close. It just lacks a little bit of sub bass compared to the HE-560. The HE-500, the tone balance, I would say, is a little bit more V-shaped. A little bit of boost at the bottom and the top. It actually makes it kind of a more fun headphone, but if we're going by strictly accuracy, I would say it's probably the least accurate of the three because of that slight V-shape to the tone balance. Next category, and I think we're up to number 17, would be dynamics. And the clear winner of this category is going to be the HE-560s. Because of the better bass impact, they're just a more dynamic headphone. There's just more slam to the sound, and they just sound bigger, like more solid, more weight to the sound. And the other two just really can't compete with them. The Sundara has a little bit more impact in the bass than the HE-560, but they both have an overall kind of soft sound, where the 500 is just more in your face and more dynamic. So I'm going to give this one to the HE-500, the win, second place to the Sundara. As far as efficiency, which is my 18th category, I'm going to give a slight advantage to the HE-500. Compared to the Sundara, they're very close in efficiency, But if I plug them both into my benchmark DAC 1 and put the volume knob at any given place, the HE-500s are slightly louder than the Sundara. They are slightly more efficient, where the HE-560 is way behind both of them. I would estimate the HE-560 at least 3 to 4 decibels less efficient than the other two, which means you're going to need basically twice the amp to power them. The 560, well, 3 to 4 decibels, everyone knows that 3 decibels requires twice the wattage. So, like I said, if you're going to use them for a portable, I don't think the 560s are a good choice at all. So, and the other two are very close, but I'm going to give a slight win to the HE-500. As far as durability, which is my 19th category, I haven't had any problems with any of the three. So the only thing I can really go by is the HE-500s. I have owned these for over 6 years and never had a single problem with them. The HE-560 I've had for about a year and never had a single problem with them. And the Sundaras I've had for about 5 or 6 weeks and no problems. So how do I judge durability? I guess I'm just going to use time as the factor. I'm going to give the win to the HE-500 for holding up well for over 6 years now. And I'll give second place to the HE-560 because I've had them about a year with no problems at all. My 20th category is the fun factor. And by that, what I mean is a headphone fun and exciting to listen to, because some people consider accuracy and a flat tone a little bit boring. That's why the EQ was invented and the bass and treble knob. So anyway, if you're a little less concerned about accuracy and just want a fun to listen to headphone with a little bit of V shape to the tone balance, I'm going to give the win in this one to the HE-500. I've never felt any need at all to equalize these, where the 560s, with good recordings, they sound great the way they are, but with less than perfect recordings, I sometimes enjoy a slight adjustment to the tone balance, maybe a 2 or 3 decibel boost in the bass. So I'm going to give the overall win on fun factor to the 500 and a two-way tie for second place to the 560 and the Sundara. My last category is price, and right now the Sundara is selling for $499. The HE-560, which was originally $899, and right now I believe you can get these from Hifiman for $450. I don't even know if they're in production anymore. These might be the final leftovers. But anyway, the last I saw, these were on sale for $450 a pair. The 500 originally sold for $899 and was later dropped to $599, I believe. $699, and then I think right before they were discontinued, they dropped to $599. The problem is they're not available new anymore, so we can't really figure that into the price factor. I guess you could pick them up used. I think used they go for about $350, which is a good deal. But right now, I would say price-wise, this one's got to go to the HE-560 that you can get for $50 less than the Sundara. It's not a big difference, but, you know, the two are real close in my opinion, so $50 might make a difference. So price I'm going to give to the 560s. So now the question is, well, before I get to that, let's add up the totals. If I did the math right, I came up with 48 points for the Sundara. I came up with 48 points for the 560, and I came up with 40 points for the HE-500. So basically the Sundara and the HE-560 came up a tie. So now the question is, you know, which one do you want? So you've got to figure out what's most important to you. The small advantages of the 560 are a better bass extension, and they are slightly lighter, a little bit more comfortable. I like the chord better. The Sundara, you're going to get a little more detail in the mid treble, and they have slightly more accurate imaging, and it's a newer headphone with a different look, so you know, that's up to you what things are most important to you. So now the question is, if you already own the 500, do you want to buy a Sundara? And I would say the main factor there would be if the weight and comfort is a factor with the 500 and you really like the way they sound, but the weight just bothers you, I would say the Sundara might be a smart move. You are going to lose a little bit of bass impact and a little bit of dynamics, but you're going to gain more detail and a smoother sound and definitely a lighter weight. If you've already got the 560, do you want to make the move to the Sundara? Weight and comfort isn't really a factor, so I've heard some people think that the treble is a little bit harsh on the 560, so you can gain a smoother, little bit better detailed treble with these and a little bit more pinpoint soundstage. So if those things are important to you, then I would say you will probably like the Sundara. Well, that just about wraps up my three-way comparison. I'm coming up with pretty much a dead tie between the Sundara and the 560. Each has its strong points. Each has some minor weak points, but no real defects or anything that is really going to bother anyone that I know of. The 500 slightly behind the two, but it's an older design, and the weight and the comfort are what really held this one back as far as being equal with the others. Sound-wise, it's pretty close. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. That was my three-way shootout between the three Hifiman headphones. Once again, this is William from the Headphone Experience. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you're not already a member of my headphone group on Facebook called the Headphone Experience, please join us. Thank you.